Devara Thunderbeat is an award-winning musician, drummer, composer, and an author of 4 books. She's a 22 DNA facilitator and leads tours in Sedona to discover ancient Egyptian mysteries and images in the rocks. She's authored 4 books, which includes My Encounters with ETs and Angels, where she discusses her first contact experiences at age 4 and how she discovered her multi-contact experiences with different extraterrestrials after doing regression hypnosis with the famous Dolores Cannon in 2004.
You're listening to Exopolitics Today with Dr. Michael Salla, your source for the uncensored truth regarding the human, extraterrestrial, global, and political agenda. Click the like button and subscribe to this channel. And now, here's Dr. Michael Salla.
Well, welcome, Deborah, to Exopolitics Today.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Salla.
Well, you've led a very interesting life, quite exciting. I mean, but your background is fascinating. I mean, you have a Native American mother and an Italian father. So, what was it like growing up with that combination?
Wow. They were totally two opposite worlds. I'll tell you. He was Roman Catholic, and my mom was Native American. And when my mom used to bring me to church I remember at 5, my father wouldn't go because he was a workaholic, I call it. He was a construction guy, and so he would never go to church. So he would tell my mother, bring your daughter to church, and we go to Roman Catholic. And then second time I went, I said, Mom, all they want here is money. And she didn't like the church anyway, so she never brought me back. So that was really nice. And I learned from her side of the family all the Native American traditions, and which was beautiful.
Well, I know your relationship with your mother was very close, and at age 4, you had an experience with her that involved extraterrestrial contact. So you want to tell us what happened?
Yeah, I was 4 and I was playing in the driveway. It was broad daylight, upstate New York, where I'm from. And a cloud ship, this is what I call it, a cloud ship came over. And what it means is that it was cloaked in a cloud, so no one could see it. And it was pulling me up. And as it was pulling me up, my mother ran out of the house trying to catch me, and they pulled her up too. So that's where it all began. And I remember when they put me on a silver table and rolled me down this hallway, and passing these doorways of rooms. They were like circular doorways, and they all were different colors. Each room had its own color. It was actually really beautiful. And then they put me in a room, and they shined golden light onto me, and they said, your name is Flying Eagle with Many Wings. So I said, well, that sounds Native American. So I asked my uncle, which is a major shaman, Choctaw, and I told him the story. I said, yeah, they called me this name, Flying Eagle with Many Wings. It sounds Native American. He says, where do you think we get our names from? We get them from the star people. I said, that was like amazing.
So that was an incident that you recall happening, was a more of a missing time experience, and you only recalled the full details when you met with Dolores Cannon in 2004. So you want to tell us about that? What role did Dolores Cannon play in you remembering that and other contact experiences?
Yeah, well, I've had many, and we did a 4-hour session. And, she was so booked up. She said, you have to come to Arkansas if you want a session, and we'll book you in a year from now. And I'm like, whoa. So I said, okay, I want to know this. I didn't remember my life of the contact. I remember parts of it coming in. I was floating in midair at 4 years old in the sky, tumbling in the sky in slow motion, going back to the driveway. And I said, oh no, I'm going to hit my head on the driveway. I'm going to hurt myself. And I said, I need to land on my hands. So as soon as I said that, I flipped around really fast and landed on my hands. And my cat was there and jumped 10 feet into the air. And so I must have been invisible. And that's when my mom ran out of the house and said, I've been looking all over for you for 2 hours. I was ready to call the police. I said, I've been playing here in the driveway. So I didn't remember. I was always wondering all my life what that was and I found out when I got the session with Dolores Cannon. And that was the story I told you, what happened. They brought me in, and it was basically, they were telling me and reminding me my mission and knowledge, while I'm here, where they work with color, light, sound. And that's what I do. I work with not just sound healing, I work with color, light, and sound. So through the chakras, the colors of the rainbow, 7 colors, and they all are very knowledgeable and very powerful. So they were kind of reminding me of that, but but the story goes on and on. And I remember I was at this conference in Florida. It was a hot spot, hot. I'm trying to think of the name of the place. It was many years ago in 1997. And I met this guy and I said, oh my God, I know you. What do I know you from? And he was like so familiar, and it was like long lost family. I've never felt like that in my life. I don't know, and I kept telling him, and he just kept smiling. Well, I found out he was from the Andromedan ship. He is from he looked human, but his job was to come from the ship and come down and help on the planet and find out what's going on and report back. So what happened with the Dolores Cannon situation, I was missing a lot of time. I was in a hologram. He actually invited me to his mother's house, he says. So, and he tells me how to get there. And it was like, he goes, it only takes 30 minutes to get there. So I left at 9 o'clock to go have dinner with him and his mom. And it was 3 hours later that I got there. There was only one road, and I kept going on this road, and it kept repeating itself over and over again. This is what I remember before the regression. And I kept seeing the same tree, same curve, same tree, same curve. And I'm like, what is going on here? I didn't know what was going on. There was no cars, no places to turn off on the road. They had street lights, but there were balls of light with no poles. I'm like going, okay, well, I don't have time to stop to look at what that is. I'm trying to find this road. He says to go over the bridge and then take a right. Well, I couldn't find the bridge. And then finally I found this place. It was a restaurant bar, and it said open, and they had a payphone out front. My cell phone didn't work. And this was in 1997. So, back when they had payphones. So I go to the payphone and I dial his number, and it says the payphone doesn't work. And I'm like, well, my cell phone doesn't work. The payphone doesn't work. What is going on here? So I walk into the restaurant. Now, wait a minute. The parking lot, there was no cars in the parking lot. Not one car in the parking lot, but they had an open sign. I walk in, the place is packed. Okay. I'm like going, okay, this is like Twilight Zone here. So I said to the lady behind the bar, I said, where's the bridge? Is it back that way? Everyone looked at me and nodded their head at the same time. Yes. And I'm like going, okay. And these two guys were talking like quantum physics and in the middle of like the country. And I'm going, well, maybe they were at the conference, the UFO conference I was at, where, they were talking molecular structure, all this stuff. And then they go, do you think she knows where she is? And I said, no, I don't know where I am. I'm looking for the bridge. Well, they didn't mean that at all. I was actually in a hologram, and I was on a ship, and those people were observing me. But but I went back and I found the bridge, and it was right there. I mean, I couldn't have missed it. It was half a mile long. I actually drove over it and said, "Oh, it's here. How could I miss this?" I saw the water and everything, and I went down to the house and I found the house. And he comes out and he says to me, he goes, "Come in the house. You've been through a lot." And I'm like, okay, this is getting very strange. So anyway, so what really happened when I got the regression from Dolores, they actually were doing a healing on me. And I used to smoke cigarettes way back when. And so they actually did a healing on my lungs. And it was a praying mantis. And he looked about 10, 11 feet tall. And he was a bluish color. And he had a doctor's suit on, kind of like a white, white suit. And he put his hand inside my belly, and I didn't feel a thing. And all the people in that restaurant bar were observing what he was doing. They were all there. And he actually gave me an activation of remembrance, and it was all positive. I wasn't in fear at all. But when I got back to the house where his name was Jim's house, there was two people there, and I said, those people were at that restaurant. And I'm like, okay, this is getting, stranger and stranger, trying to put this two and two together. And it was a couple, and the male kind of looked like an ant figure energy. And the woman, her eyes could look right through you, right inside of you. She was so very intense. And she was telling me about her island. And she goes, "We would love for you to come and live on our island." And I said, "Well, where's your island?" She said, "It's out there." And I said, "Well, how many people are on this island?" She said, 5,000. And I said, "Well, what do you do on this island?" She goes, "We work." She was very short and blunt. And she said, "You can have relationships on this island, but we would love for you to be on our island." And I said, "Jim, have you been on this island?" And he went, "Oh, yeah." Well, I found out the island was their ship later. So
I
that was
see.
one of the stories.
Mhm. So this Native American connection to your ET contacts is very interesting. And with you, you mentioned this Chief Little Summer, who had a lot to say about extraterrestrial contact and Native Americans, and he talked about these triangle-shaped craft that the extraterrestrials use, which was kind of like unusual, because I haven't heard too many extraterrestrials using triangle-shaped craft. I know this is something the government has reverse engineered, but yeah. So what do you know about these triangle-shaped craft, and what Chief Little Summer had to say about them, the ETs interacting with Native Americans over the ages?
Well, he said it was, to him, it was normal. They're just star family. He'd say the triangle ships that I encountered them in Florida. There was a lot of contact when I moved to Florida from New York. I was living in Sarasota on the Gulf of Mexico, and that, I don't know, I had lots of actually missing time. And but the triangle there were small triangle crafts. In the day I would see them. They were black, and they didn't make any sound when they moved, but it seemed like they were following me around. And I would actually, I would never get afraid. I would just wave to them. I was like, "Hi, how you doing?" And I think they were just monitoring me. Then there was another incident where It was called Indian Rocks Beach, where this guy said, "Oh, that's where the triangle ships come in." And we went down there and did a ceremony and meditated on the beach, 9, 10 o'clock at night. He says they come in after the airplanes. So the airplanes, it was an airplane kind of runway where the airplanes come and land and go to Tampa Airport, and they stop at 11. So when the 11 p.m., that's when these other balls of light we could see on the horizon. We were on the water watching, and we could see these balls of light, red, green, and yellow. So we saw these yellow ones, and then these red ones, and then the greens ones come in, just like a traffic light. The green ones come in, and then these huge triangle ships, huge, came in. And we could see they were going left and right. They could maneuver all different ways. And they actually flew over above us. And it seemed like it was only an hour. But then the next time I looked at my watch, it was 2 o'clock in the morning. So I think I missed some time there too. There's a lot of missing time. I don't know if they take us up in the ship. Sometimes I have to get more regressions at that time. But yeah, because me and Dolores, we only had time for two actual sessions in 4 hours. That's how much happened in those timelines. But eventually, I do remember bits and pieces of things. They do download me information to relay to people. People I don't even know come up to me, and they say some trigger word, and then all of a sudden I give them all this knowledge and this information, and I'm like, I'm telling them this, and I feel like so intelligent, and I'm having these different kind of, it's not a different language, but it's like very, I guess, scientific like almost, or and then I give them the message and they leave, and I'm like going, okay, and then I forget what I say. So it's kind of like I'm a trigger messenger kind of thing, that they've downloaded me information. So, but they have, in 2013, they've been connecting with me and actually telling me lots of knowledge and what's going on in the planet. And they've asked me they've actually asked my opinion, what does the planet Earth need? I said, love, more love. All this it's just the opposite. They have brought me up into their planet in 2013. They brought me to Sirius A. They live inside the sun, and you would think it's hot, but it's not. It's very interesting, and met some of my star family there, and a lot of them are bird beings. They have white feathers for hair, but they look human, but their eyes are different. This one, his name was Salu. And his eyes were golden triangles pointing down, but he looked human, but his skin was a little bit pinker. And then there was these pink beings there, and like a lot of them, and they were all like kind of looking at me and walking around. And I said, "Who are they?" They said, "Well, these are your family. They haven't seen you in a long time, and they miss you." And I'm like, "Really?" I don't remember. But then they showed me other beings, golden beings that just light up the room. They have no faces. They're just pure golden light. So they're all much love. They're 6-dimensional. They told me they're 6D, and just love. I mean, beautiful, beautiful love. It's a high vibrational love. So when they brought me back down here, I could feel such heaviness down here, and you can really see and feel a difference of the energy and 3D on Earth.
So they told you about your life and mission, that you would raise consciousness through color, light, and sound. So, what role did that play? I mean, I know you've been very talented as a musician, learning to play drums. So can you tell us about your kind of like journey or discovering your mission, and what the ETs had to do with that?
Well, they said this was I've already had this knowledge, they've told me. But I didn't know it. I had to still put the pieces together because you're on 3D. You forget when you're in the 3D zone, I call it. But I got into sound healing. It was like the early 90s. I was always fascinated with how each key of the scale affects you. So I did my own research, just studying how this person or feels with this kind of frequency or this kind of song. And so I did my kind of research that way. And then what activated me too, so I became a sound healer. I was into sound healing also. And now I have I think 5 sound healing CDs. They're all different for different purposes of raising your frequencies, activating you, balancing you, your chakras through the color, light, sound, ascension. But what really triggered me was when I was overnight in the Great Pyramid of Egypt, and I was there. I did ceremony with my drum. My star family said, "Bring your drum to activate the pyramid. It's been dormant for eons." This is what they said. I said, "Okay, I'm on the mission." So I was there with a group. We did ceremony, and then I did the activation in the king's chamber. And they said they could. The group went downstairs. There's a downstairs area where there's another walkways and everything in the Great Pyramid. And they said they could hear the drum through the whole pyramid. I said, "Yes, that's great." And so they said, yeah, it was dormant, and they said that it worked, that I activated it. So then I went downstairs and met up with the group, and Archangel Gabriel came in, and he told me color, light, sound. Again, he goes, 7 is the sacred number. 7 is the sacred number. And he kept repeating this over and over again. And I said, oh, he's talking about the 7 colors of the chakras. He's telling me there's an activational tone for each chakra. And I got extremely excited. I said, oh God, I want to go home and write this CD right now. And I said, what, am I crazy? I'm in Egypt. I just, my first time there. But I got home and I started writing the CD, and actually Gabriel came in. And I want to tell everybody that Gabriel's a musician. Come blow your horn. He's a horn player. He gave me the tones for each chakra. This is in 1996, 97, where I don't remember any chakra CDs out there at that moment yet. And I started working on it, and he gave me the tones, he gave me the vibrations and everything for the CD. It's called Chakra Journey. But what was interesting, when I have a recording studio, and I started recording the root chakra, and then I went to the second chakra, and he comes in and he says, "Not yet, not time," and I'm going, "What? I'm so excited about this mission. Why are you stopping me?" And nothing worked in my recording studio. Nothing. And this, long story short, this went on for 4 years. Now, this is in 1997, okay? And that was the major year, I guess, of something for transmission. But so this went on for 4 years, and every time I tried to record it, the recording studio, nothing worked in the recording studio, okay? But in the meantime, I did 3 other CDs in my recording studio. Everything worked fine for them. And I'm going, what is going on here? Then 9/11 happens. The day after 9/11, Archangel Gabriel comes in again. He goes, okay, it's time now. And I went in the recording studio, and everything worked fine. And it came out that year, and it became actually #1 for chakra healing. But the thing is, that's when it was needed. He taught me about a timing thing for the planet. And after 9/11, everybody was freaked out and needed, stress and fear and healing. And that's what it works on. It works on relieving your fears and your stress, your anxiety, actual pain, and then aligns your chakras. And it's amazing because I didn't know everything it would do till I got the testimonies back from people, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is why he wanted me to put it out at this time, because that's when it was needed. So that was a beautiful thing. And that's how they come in. I call them my star family guides or the angels. They come in and they tell me a timing thing, like my Ascension CD. They said, okay, it's time now for the Ascension CD. And I haven't even written it, but I go, okay, I know exactly what to do. I know. And that's, they kind of guide me, timing thing for the planet, it's like a teamwork. It's wonderful.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that ascension and the planetary work. I just wanted to maybe clarify a little bit, the difference, because you've had ET contact experiences that you recall, and you remember some of the ETs, and you also say, okay, these angels come in, or Archangel Gabriel has come in, and so what's the difference? I mean, what's the difference between an archangel and an extraterrestrial?
Okay, the archangels are right here. They're right surrounding the planet, where the ETs are pretty much more further out, or they can reside on their planet and then come here pretty quickly. But the archangels are right here. I mean, they're just hovering right over the planet, and when you ask for help, they will come. But you have to ask, because it's a free will zone. They don't just volunteer, and they don't just come in. So that's the difference. I've met many different species. Like I said, the bird-like beings, the pink ones, the golden ones. I've met the praying mantis, and then human-looking ones. They're from Sirius A is definitely one of my star family places that I kind of reside. They say. What do you call it? See, the Andromedans, I was pretty much just on their ship, not any planet. And they had many different species on that ship. So, and then I have met Greys, but not when they tried to contact me. That was a strange situation where I'll tell you this story. I was in Chichen Itza in the Mayan lands, and I was first time there, and it was March 21st, where they have this gathering of thousands and thousands of people for the spring equinox. And when I got there, I was with a group, the shamanic group, and they said, you cannot climb the pyramid at this time. And I said, I wanted to touch the pyramid. They wouldn't even let you touch it. They roped it off. And I said, oh, look at that doorway. There's a doorway on the side of the pyramid. I'm going to go inside there. I'm brave. I'm a pretty brave person. I said, I want to experience of the energy of the pyramid. So I go inside. The doorway was open, but it was pitch black. So I can use my third eye. I used my third eye to go up the stairway. I found the stairway. So I went up the stairway, and 6 Greys came down the stairway and said to me, mental telepathy communication. They said, you cannot be allowed in here. You're not allowed in here. You got to go now. You have to go now. You have to go now. They seemed more afraid of me than I was of them. I was said, okay, I'm out of here. I'll leave now. And then one of the girls from the group, she goes, what's in there? I said, that's like some Greys are hanging out in there. And I don't know why. It was like, I'm so casual about this because I've met so many different ETs, and they've all been benevolent. The ones I have met have been benevolent. The ones that have contacted me, I shall say, have been benevolent. But there's the other ones. I have met some other ones too that service to self, I call it.
Okay, all right. So the ETs use some kind of technology, and the angels, they're just there. They're just more. They don't need technology to kind of like interact with us. That's good.
Yeah.
As far as these activations that you've been doing? I know you've been a professional drummer. You've written a book about drumming, and you've won a lot of awards with drumming. So when did you find out that drumming could activate people? And how does that happen? What happens with activation and drumming?
Well, I played full drum set in rock bands for 15 years in New York City, and then I got into world music, and then not so I started playing hand drums. So that's when I noticed the power of the activation of the drum, where the drum activates your heart, grounds you to the earth, and it opens up portals through your chakras, through your crown chakra. So it does three things all at once. So it's very powerful. So when I started playing hand drums and writing more tribal music, it was after I started going to the sacred sites, the Mayan sites and the ancient Egyptian sites. I would come home and write a CD right away, and it would be that kind of music. I just was like downloaded this music. I don't know if it's from my past lives or I think it's more like that, because I remember my past lives too in Egypt and the Mayan lands very, very strongly. And so I wrote the hand drumming book, Rhythms from Around the World, because I was going to these drum circles, and they were playing the same rhythm over and over again, the same one rhythm. I said, I'm going to have to help these people. I'm going to write a book with African rhythms, Egyptian rhythms, Mayan rhythms, Native American rhythms. So that's what I did. So I put that book together for them, and then there is an audio book. It's on my website of SiriusStargate.com, my download music site, and I could send you the book, or you can use the audio book, which is on that site, and it plays all the rhythms for you, and it helps you learn all kinds of cool new rhythms.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I know you have been tested, and that your auditory range is much broader than a normal person's. And because of that, you were able to detect HAARP frequencies and how the HAARP uh, array and that technology was being used to disrupt and kind of like really dumb people down. So yeah, can you tell us, what happened, and how did you make the connection with these frequencies that you were hearing and HAARP technology out of Alaska?
Well, I was first noticed them in 1994, I think it was 95, and I would really notice them when I would, lay down to go to sleep, and I would feel and I would hear them really low frequency, and I even felt my bed seemed like it was vibrating from these frequencies, and I'm going, what is that? And I would ask people, but no one would know what I was talking about. They looked at me like I was crazy. And then I was passing by this hearing doctor one day, and it says a free hearing test. And I said, you know what? I haven't had my hearing checked in a long time. I'm kind of nervous because I've been in rock bands. I said, okay, I'll have it checked out. So he checked it out, and he said, he did all these frequencies. He goes, you can hear that? I said, yeah. He goes, no one can hear those kind of frequencies. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, I could hear 3 frequencies higher than normal and 3 frequencies lower than normal. And I didn't know that. And he actually didn't believe me at first. And he kept repeating over and over and over, testing me with those same frequencies. And I said, yes, I can hear that. Yes. And he goes, get out of here. You don't have any hearing problem. So I said, okay, I think that's why I can hear the low frequency hums that no one else can, because of my hearing. And there was, I think I met maybe a couple people that finally said they could hear them. But I would ask, to people, I go, do you wake up tired a lot? Do you feel the bed vibrating? And I made people aware of it, and they checked it out, and they came back to me and they said yes, but they didn't hear the sounds. They could feel the vibrations, though.
Now, there was a very interesting experience you described where a friend of yours, I guess, was visiting you or had stayed with you at your place, and then a policeman shows up, and he turns out to be a shapeshifter. So why don't you tell us what happened?
Yeah, this it was kind of funny in a sense. I was this my friend was having trauma and all this, and so all this chaotic energy was in my house. So I smudged my house. He left. He moved out. I let him stay there for a few days, and I smudging the house, and I hear this knock on the door, and I open the door, and all this smoke went over a police officer, and I went, "Oh my." Officer, that's only sage, because sometimes people think it smells like pot, you know what I mean? And it wasn't legal then. It's legal in many places now, and soon as the smoke cleared, I felt his energy, and I said, "Oh no, this is a reptilian." And I don't know how I knew that. It was just his energy was so stiff. There was no emotions. It was like just stiff. And no, he didn't look like that. But he had mirror sunglasses on, and he was asking me about Danny. I go, no, he moved out, and I said I can make a phone call for you, and I was talking to him, and then I was doing a mental telepathy thing with him. I was going, pull your sunglasses down, pull your sunglasses down, without words. And I was casually talking to him. I said, I can make a phone call for you if you want me to find out where he is. I can help you out. I was totally there helping him. And after about a few minutes, he pulls his sunglasses down, and he says, without words, with mental telepathy, he goes, "What do you think about that?" And he had slits in his eyes. He looked human, but he had reptilian eyes. That's how he looked. And his energy there was it was like a cardboard, it was so stiff. And I don't think he liked that very much. that I knew, but he showed me. And I said, "Oh, okay, the policemen are reptilians." So
Okay,
uh,
so
I
so
think
that's
they
kind of like support for what David Icke says, that there's a lot of reptilian shapeshifters that are hidden amongst the population.
Oh yeah, I guess so. Yeah, yeah.
Well, you wrote your book, My Encounters with ETs and Angels, and so I guess that emerged because of these sessions you had with Dolores Cannon and other QHHT practitioners. So, yeah, you want to tell us about that book and how important it was for you discovering this kind of extraterrestrial aspect in your whole life.
Well, my star family all my life, before I found out even more, they always said, "Don't write anything down. It was not time, and it wasn't safe." So when January 11th, what was it, 2013, right after the 2012 incident, which plus I knew at the 2012 incident that was just all engrossed with fear. It was into actually a beautiful shift into the new paradigm, into the new frequencies, and they were just made it so evil, and they took advantage of it. And what I mean, who they are, is the dark side. They took advantage of it and put all this fear in there. So, but the Star family came to me right after that, in January 11th, 2013, and said, "Okay, it is time to write the book. It is time. It is time for this information to get out. It is safe now." So I said, "Okay, well, you're going to have to help me, because you didn't want me to write anything down, and I have to remember." And they came in and helped me remember everything. It just flowed so quickly to write that book. And yes, and that's when 2013 is when they brought me to Sirius A, and they actually thanked me. They said, "Thank you for telling the people about us." And and they gave me lots of other information. My mother was there, because she passed at that time. She passed in 2006, and this was 2013. And I asked about my mother. I go, is my mother involved here? And she came and appeared to me, and she was full of golden pink light. She was beautiful. And she says, the only reason I came to Earth was to bring you in. That was the only reason I came to Earth. And I'm like, okay. So so basically I just want to say that I'm helping people raise their vibration and their awareness of other worlds and the benevolent loving ETs, because they're more benevolent out there. It's 80% benevolent. The 20% is we get so bombarded here on Earth because it is 3D. It's a very low vibration. So they like to use that low vibration. That's really all they can really handle. The dark ones, I'm going to call them, and they come in and utilize that lower frequency energy, and that's another reason why they use the HAARP to lower your vibration, because they can't handle a high frequency. They cannot handle 5-6D. It's very, very hard for them to be able to handle that kind of frequency. So
Yeah, I'm very. One of the things I noticed was that in doing kind of UFO research or exopolitics since I began in 2001, was that there was this real bias amongst researchers to just focus on the negative extraterrestrials. Somehow they thought abductions were more scientific because somehow you could kind of like do a cross comparison between all these different abductees claiming all these things had happened to them. But the people who had positive extraterrestrial contacts, even if they had photos or had witnesses seeing them get into the ships um, and had kind of footprints in that, kind of like what George Adamski had experienced, they were ridiculed. They weren't studied, and even today, most UFO researchers they will focus on abductions with these greys and the abuses of people, but they shy away from the positive human contact. So yeah, I mean, you kind of alluded to why that is, but maybe you want to just expand how that is part of this dark agenda.
yeah, well, that's what the lower frequencies want to keep everybody in fear so they can control them. And a lot of situations that people have, they don't realize that they are positive situations because they're so much in fear. So their fear makes it a negative situation. Yeah. And they get blocked from the fear, the fear of that energy. It's a very low vibration. So, um, when you're not in fear, you can actually see a lot clearer on things. So what I'm saying is they eventually think about, let's say if they've had some regressions or think about their situation later on, and they say, well, it wasn't that bad, and they did some really nice things, and it was because of their fear. Even Travis Walton said the same thing. He said, I was totally in fear, and it was negative and bad, and then he realized later, he goes, no, they just wanted to make sure they didn't hurt me when they were taking test samples for the Earth. And he ran out there, and he got beamed up, or he got in the way or whatever of their sample testing, and they brought him up thinking they heard him, and they were doing a healing on him. And he took him a while to realize that, after the fear went away, I guess you could say.
Well, one of the things you wrote about in your Encounters with ETs and Angels book that I found fascinating was that you were told in 1995 that you were from the future and you were here to help humanity prepare for the coming shifts. So I assume that from the future, that was from like on an extraterrestrial world, or were you talking about a future human, from our planet in the future? So yes, you want to just explain.
Well, it was future information from the future, and basically um, coming from the future, but so going to the past, so to fix the past, so we don't destroy ourselves. That's the reason. That's what that means. So, and the knowledge that I have, I guess, is more futuristic. Like I would say, don't they have that now? I thought they already had that. And I would get that a lot to myself. I go, don't they have like free energy? Don't they have, oh, what happened? And why are they still using a microwave? That's poison. And, um, you know, I would just be aware of it that way. Of knowing that the future is actually bright. I do want to say this. It's very, very important that my star family told me that there's them and many groups that come in and stop the nuclear weapons, dismantle them. I've been talking about that for about 20 years now, and it is a good thing. And it's funny that the military goes, oh, they're coming to attack us. They're stopping our nuclear weapons and we can't protect ourselves. So they're trying to attack us. No, they're trying to save the planet so you don't blow yourself up. And that's what they're concerned about. And they work on dismantling as much as possible or stopping the nuclear weapons. They even have footage now. They're finally showing where something came in, interrupted one of their tests, their rocket tests, and like this ball of light will come in and dismantle it or stop it. So we're safe in that sense, that they're making sure that we don't blow ourselves up like Meldeck. There's a planet called Meldeck that was between Jupiter and Mars called Meldeck. It's our asteroid belt now, and they blew themselves up, and they want to make sure that doesn't happen again. So,
okay, that's I've heard others say very similar things, and there's a lot of records about the ETs interfering with nuclear technology. So that's kind of good that they are making sure that that the military doesn't start a nuclear war. Now, I know you've been to Egypt on several tours, and on one of those tours, you saw a UFO, and that what you saw convinced you that the Egyptians are working with extraterrestrials. So, what happened?
basically, we were on a flight to Aswan or Abu Simbel. That was what it was. And as soon as we took off, the what do you call it? The one of the tires blew out. So we had to do emergency stop at a military airport. So when we landed, they took us all out of the plane and says, get inside the building and don't come out. You're not allowed outside. So we were in there, it seemed like forever, and I was getting bored. And they have guys with rifles at every doorway. And I just said, you know what? And I was feeling some energy there anyway, some ET energy, but I was just went outside and started talking to the guard and seeing how everything is and how long is this going to be and blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden I saw a ship come over. It was over the sand dunes in the military airport. And for some reason I knew it was a worker ship. I said, that's a worker ship. And I looked at that and I went, wow. And he looked at me, he looked at that, and he goes, get back inside now. And so they are definitely, he knew it. They're working together, definitely.
So when you say it was a worker ship, I mean, what do you mean by that?
It was doing some kind of work for the military. There were supplies or some kind of transporting things. I don't know, but I just knew it was more of a worker ship. That's and I knew it was ET. It was not replicated from humans. It was definitely ET. So
Okay. Well, be nice to know if that's something that is new or this is part of kind of like ancient Egyptian history, that the ETs have had bases there in Egypt all this time. But you didn't know that, or do you?
no, I knew there was definitely ET contact in the ancient days, but I don't know if these same races were affiliated with those ancient ones. I don't know that. I didn't. I didn't get any downloads on that, but I just definitely knew there were workers ships.
Mhm. Well, there's a very interesting connection between America and Arizona in particular and Egypt. And I know your most recent book, you talk about Egyptian gods or in the rock carvings in Sedona. So, yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about that connection between Egypt and Sedona and Arizona?
Yeah, it's my recent book. I didn't even know I was going to write this book, but it's a 20-year project. I've been here for 23 years, and since I'm Native American, my uncle would always tell me when I was very young, when you see the faces in the rocks, those are the ancient ones and the ancient knowledge. So I would always look at rocks differently. So when I got here, I was going, oh, look at all these figures. They're hidden in plain sight. And no one would see them because they would just look at rocks as rocks. So, and plus it was very magical. I was magically guided. I think it was the third or fourth week I was here. I was driving and I was going to hike. I was hiking everywhere, me and my dog, and I was going to this place called Boynton Canyon. And I get to the stop sign. You're supposed to go left to Boynton Canyon, and all of a sudden, a white flash went over my car and transported me to the right into Long Canyon. And I'm like, oh my God. And the car was stopped. And I said, how did I get here? My dog was in the back. I'm like, I remember a white flash. I mean, it happened like instantly, so fast. And I said, okay, well, this is not the way I want to go. I started turning around, and Spirit came in and said, go this way. And I said, all right, show me where you want me to go. And they stopped me in front of the Sphinx. It was a Sphinx. And I went, oh, so that's where it all started. I said, that's ancient Egypt. And the Sphinx was facing east, just like the one in Giza, in Egypt. So that's where I started looking everywhere. And I found probably about 14 different ancient Egyptian figures. They're huge. They're like so big, they're sides of mountains. So I don't know if giants put them together or what, but they are everywhere. And actually, ancient Egyptian stuff is pretty much all in the same area. And I have found more than just ancient Egypt here. I found Ganesh, Kuan Yin, and they have their own little city too, or area. And I found dragons in the rocks. I have found birds. I have found queens and kings in the rocks. And this is like an ancient city here. It's a long lost history we don't know anything about. And it is like a library here, totally like a library. And then they're all in my new book. And it's like, it's still blowing me away. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. So you want to maybe just elaborate on why you feel that these, figures in the rocks are representative of ancient Egyptian gods and goddesses. Because I know skeptics will say, "Well, that's just pareidolia,"
No.
but you want to just explain what's in it, and there's also a connection with Mars because you got the face on Mars as well. So is that the same sort of thing that you found in Sedona?
Yeah, if you see the pictures, I guarantee you, there's no doubt. Um, you'd have to show the pictures from the book. The Osiris, Isis. It's all they're very detailed. It's not like just kind of looks like they're extremely detailed. And I've had people say that same thing, pareidolia, and they look at the book and then they go, "Oh, okay, this is like the real deal." Because I have pictures of ancient Egypt right next to, let's say, Isis or Osiris, right next to the mountain, and it looks exactly like it. And they're all, like I said, right next to each other, all in the same area. And I have found probably about 6 to 8 sphinxes. And you'd have to look at the book. It is clear. It's clear as day. When people look at the book, they go, "Oh my God." And when I take people on tours now of showing the ancient Egyptian figures in the rocks, they always say, "I will never look at rocks the same again." because they are ancient, ancient beings. Or some of them, I have talked to other geologists, and some of the rocks and faces I have found are actual fossils. I didn't know that, but I felt the other ones are definitely cut. And actually, I had a lady that works in a mine went on my tour. She's working there for 15 years, and I started showing her the rocks, and she said, "Look at all these cut lines. These are cut lines. These are not natural. They're just like the cut lines in the mine." And I have her on there for a testimony. And then a geologist told me, he pointed certain faces in my book. They said, "This is a fossil." And I said, "How do you know?" They said, "Well, there's teeth in here, and when you do a sculpture, they don't put teeth in there, and they're all the ones that are like fossils are their eyes are closed." It's very interesting. So I'm learning a lot myself.
I know you've done some work with crystal skulls. So what are the importance of crystal skulls, and is there an ET connection with these?
Those have much knowledge like embedded in them, and frequencies. Each one has a different frequency. I remember doing a concert, and we at a Crystal Skull conference, and we had Max and the Mitchell Hedges skull, and so three major skulls sitting in front of us in front of the stage. And there was like four of us musicians there. We turned the lights off, and they put a strobe light underneath the crystal skulls, and we started performing and playing like the sound healing kind of meditation music. And I left my body. I mean, I was playing drums. I was like in two worlds at the same time. I mean, it was pretty instant. So their frequency is very strong. At least it affected me. And I was playing drums in another world at the same time. I could not feel the ground, and it was pretty trippy. And then one of the musicians said, "Can you turn the light on?" It was just like a few steps away down these three stairways. Three stairs. And I said, "I can't. I can't feel the ground. I cannot. I don't know where the ground is." and so they definitely have some major energy. But I finally got downstairs to turn the light on. It was just three steps, but it was very difficult. And the whole audience was like this. They were like in trance. They couldn't move, so it affected everybody. And but they do hold some knowledge. I think if you meditate with them, uh, definitely. I'm not sure if they're ET races. I think I got a big yes on that just now. Yes, definitely. They came here. They're oh my God, they're talking to me right now. So they're saying that they're like libraries holding the ancient knowledge, and you can get downloads with the skulls. Yes, that's what they're saying. So makes sense.
So when you say that they hold the ancient knowledge, I mean, makes me think of like the halls of records, the Atlanteans
Yeah.
creating these halls of records. So were the crystal skulls, an artifact that is does a similar thing?
Yes, it does, and it has special knowledge. Each one has a different knowledge.
Okay.
Like the Mitchell Hedges will have the Mayan knowledge. Each one I don't know what exactly they have, but they have special knowledge that is for the earth and for the people, and to remember who we are and why we're here. So,
Well, I remember the movie Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skulls. And I think there were like 9 crystal skulls, and I think there was an ET connection to them. And somehow when they all came together, that was the kind of typical Indiana Jones movie, like the end of the world or control of the world. But I think that's kind of like that sounds like that was soft disclosure.
Yeah, probably. They do tell you, some truth there. in some of these movies, you know, and then they make them dark, and then you're in fear of that, you know. So, but yeah, as far as I know, each one has a special knowledge, special territory of where they come from. You know, let's say one's from India, they'll have ancient India knowledge.
Well, I know there's a lot of people have talked about the Ashtar Command, and the Ashtar Command, I think it was 1952, it was that I think it was the first reference to it. I think it was George Van Tassel talked about them, the Ashtar Command. But you write about actually being on one of the ships, or the Ashtar Command ship. So you want to tell us about that? What happened?
Yeah, well, they're here to help the planet, and they were asking me and downloading me information. They were asking me what was needed again. They were always asking me what's needed, and I always tell them love and to raise the vibration. And then they give me some information. We exchange information, and yeah, we are here to help. But it's really important for people to know that they only can help if you ask them for help, because it is a free will zone. They're not going to disrupt that and receive, let's say, karma, because you know that's what happens. It's what goes around comes around. So they don't interfere unless we ask for help. So like those prayers and meditations around the world work. They are so helpful. So everybody keep that work going. You know, that's really, really important. And ask them to help us be specific what is needed, so they know what to do.
Now, in your book, Chakra Awakening, you talk about the importance of chakras for planetary awakening. So, yeah, what's the connection between chakras and the planet Earth or Gaia awakening and ascending?
Well, each one has, each chakra has a powerful knowledge and energy. So, like Earth chakra is Earth chakra. Each of the chakras line with certain planets, so that knowledge even comes in from those planets for each chakra. Each chakra is an awareness, a psychic ability, as you may say. um, every single chakra is so important. And color is knowledge, color is sound activational frequencies, color is actual, yes, sound. You just said we can't hear it, it's a different vibration. So each one of these chakras are intensive knowledge. So I do, like, for instance, when I do my sound healing activations, I go through each chakra and pull out old stuff and blockages and activate each chakra. So you're definitely, after the session, you're definitely a lot lighter. You release a lot of old stuff and old programming, old, and like I said, blockages, and you start to awaken your awareness, expanding your awareness. It's beautiful. Um, the interesting thing I'd like to say, I have another chakra CD. It's called the Mayan chakra, where the Mayans start a different way of doing them. They start with the heart. The other, like India and all these other places, they start with the root and then they go up to the crown. Well, the Mayans, they said they start with the heart, then they go to the soul, then they go to the sacral chakra, then they go to the earth chakra, and then they go back to the heart, then they go to the throat chakra, third eye, crown, and then they go back to the heart. And I said, this makes so much sense. This is ancient knowledge. And how I received that was when I was doing a meditation inside one of the Mayan pyramids, and an ancient Mayan elder spirit came to me and told me this information. So, and it's been lost.
Mhm. Well, I know a lot of people, when you talk about chakras, they think of, individual chakras. As you explained, the body has 7 or 8 chakras, depending on how high you want to go. But in terms of the earth, I mean, does the earth herself have chakras? And is that part of the earth ascending?
Oh yeah, she's have chakras all over. Yeah, and by the way, Mother Earth is has already transformed into 4D, and she's waiting for us to catch up with her. So she is for density, and like I said, she has raised her vibration. But the chakras, do want to say, a lot of people say, oh, there's 12 chakras and blah blah blah. I'm going to tell you the chakra system of seven. Seven is a sacred number, repeats itself. So we have the seven here of the on the body, and then you have it repeats itself to the seven higher ones. So 777, it just repeats itself to seven. So you can say that there's an 8th or 9th or 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, but it repeats itself throughout the whole body. The seven. That's what's very interesting is that's how it works because of the seven colors of and they shift in colors. They get more iridescent as they go higher. More it's iridescently looking.
Well, I mean, you've had a lifetime of ET contacts, and right now the planet seems to be in a very scary place. A lot of people are wondering if we're about to have a third world war. So, have you been told anything? What do you see happening in the future?
Well, a lot of it's going to backfire on them. If you notice, a lot of things are backfiring on them. And there is, I do want to say this, when you watch your mainstream media, it's all negative. So stop watching all that. There is more good going on here on the planet than people know because they're not talking about it. It's definitely, like I said, not on mainstream. And so it is raising its vibration. And like I said, it's going to, World War III, if it happens, it's really happening now, but it's going to backfire on itself. And then they plan after that, they plan the fake alien attack. And I just want to tell everybody it's fake. Don't believe that. And they want to put everybody in fear again of the negative ETs hurting and killing and shooting. And it's them. It's not negative ETs. It's the fake agenda. It's fake. So don't put yourself in fear. Fear will block your vision of really seeing clearly. And just know this is not real, and don't put your energy into it as saying, oh, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. That manifests everything for them. So we don't want that. We don't want that at all.
Okay, very, very nicely said. So where do people go, Deborah, for your books and your music?
You can go to my website, thunderbeat.com. I have a lot of all my books on there, my session information, my 22 DNA activations that I do, and my tours, everything's on there. And then if you want to download my music, you can listen for free and download anything you'd like at Sirius, like the star, SiriusStargate.com. That's my download site. So
wonderful. Well, you're doing a lot of very important work, and I know that your music and activation, drums, and all of that is playing a very important role. So I encourage people to check out your website, check out your books, and thank you for being on Exopolitics Today.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me, Michael.
Aloha.
Bye.
You have been listening to Exopolitics Today with Dr. Michael Salla. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Join or start a conversation in the comments. Take the time to explore the vast library of best-selling books, webinars, and podcasts by Dr. Salla. Visit exopoliticstoday.com.